Hey guys, welcome back to RE Geeks Real Estate Geeks Uncensored. I completely made that up and completely screwed our title up, but you know what? We're going to roll with it. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're talking about something that, in my personal opinion, and Michael and I have different opinions on this. Redfin and Zillow have just changed the game in real estate in regards to some of the stuff that they're kind of putting out there and documenting and dictating. And one of the things that's really kind of coming to mind are the big changes that are shaking up the world. And it comes down to listing visibility. So let's talk about the clear cooperation. Did I say that right?
You got it right.
Yes.
Good to see
Dyslexic
you.
is coming through.
Let's be clear. Hi, everybody. Good to see you again. I'm really excited to talk about this today, but I want to step back, Greg. I don't think that Redfin and Zillow are driving this change. NAR is driving clear cooperation.
Yes, they are.
For those of you that don't know, this is basically NAR saying real estate brokers are required to list their property on the MLS within 24 hours.
Yep.
Okay. That's clear cooperation. They cite a number of reasons to do it. It's going to benefit buyers. They get the most, properties available to them. It's going to benefit sellers, maximizing the exposures. It's going to enable people to promote properties. Now, what is changing is Zillow and Redfin are now saying that they are not going to promote properties on their websites that are not listed on the MLS. How can this possibly be bad, Greg?
Well, here's the reason why I think it's bad. It's because as a listing agent, you have a fiduciary relationship to the seller, not to the buyer. And so if the seller indicates to you that, like, hey, Greg, because I've had a bunch of sellers say, hey, I don't want a sign, I don't want the MLS, you just talk to your network and bring a buyer in that's gonna give me the price that I want. I'm like, okay, what kind of price do you want? They give me the price, I say okay, and then I go out to my market prior to this this decree that has come down from the MLS. And I've told my sellers this, and like, that sucks. I mean, I don't want my neighbors to know that I'm selling. I said, well, it's the law, man. I have to do it.
But that, Greg, that's not clear. That's not what clear cooperation impacts, right? You can still do that for your seller. You just can't advertise that property the way that you normally would. You can't put a sign out there. You can't put it up on Zillow. You can't have all of those other things and not show it to the MLS as a whole.
Right. I think we're splitting hairs here. And the reason why I say that is to the fact that, Zillow is basically dictating the way the real estate market is going to go and is shifting based upon that they are a brokerage and they're trying to control the marketplace, which when I call for sale by owners through my dialer, they change all the phone numbers so I can't reach back out to those for sale by owners or for rent by owners. And it's irritating as all get out. So now you're telling me I can't pre-market a property. I have to have it on the MLS within 24 hours, or they're not going to put it up on their platform so that they get ad dollars off of it. That's a messed up move.
No, I think, and again, everybody's got their feeling about clear cooperation. Can't even say it right either. But I think that it's more about, and I'm going to use this as an example. This is really a play to hurt Compass. Compass has already said we're going to have 20% market share in the top 20 markets by 2020. I think they actually hit that, and they have a huge market share. And they're saying we don't need the MLS. People will come to us because we're Compass. So NAR is saying, hold up. If you want to be a member of NAR and get all of those benefits, and you want to advertise your property, you need to participate with the MLS.
I agree with that. And, there's been a variety of other companies that have tried this tactic that you and I are aware of. And it's not a fair playing field. I agree with you on that point. But I think it's hurting independent small brokerages. It's hurting, individual agents. So if I hire, if I list Michael Fielding's house and you're like, hey, bro, I really don't want my neighbors to know that I'm selling my house. You know, Stacy down the street tells everybody everything, and I just don't want her to, you know, start telling all the neighbors, yada yada. And I'm like, ugh, Michael, I gotta put a sign up, dude. I gotta put it on MLS, and I got to be fair to all the potential buyers out there. I just don't like. I just don't like it. It's too much control. I'm sorry. I just don't like it.
I think that you have to break things down. Okay. If you want to put the property on the MLS, that's one thing. If you don't, you don't have to focus on clear cooperation, right? The things that trigger this are putting a sign in the yard. You've already said you don't want a sign in the yard. Distributing flyers to the public. Okay. If you're not distributing flyers to the public via through, and this is not your clients, this is the general public. Are you advertising the property on a public facing website or social media?
Right. But so that means that like what we're doing right now in a public facing media, platform,
Mhm.
I can't get up there and say, "Hey, I just listed a property at 123 Main Street, anywhere USA. This is not on the market yet. If you guys have buyers or if you're a buyer yourself looking in blah, 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 anywhere USA, give me a call. My number is 123-456-88910." Right? I can't do that.
All right. So, yes, you can.
Yes, I can, or yes, I can't.
You can ish.
Okay, now we're getting to gray
Okay.
areas.
So, there are exemptions. Okay. You can still have office exclusives. Okay. If a seller directs their listing not to market the property publicly and it's handled exclusively within the listing brokerage, it may be exempt from immediate MLS submission.
But isn't that is exactly what Compass is trying to do?
No. Compass wants to put it up on Zillow. They want to put it up on their website, and they just don't want to put it out there for the MLS. They also don't want to allow you as a non-Compass agent to show that property.
That's pretty narcissistic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
But that's what they're trying to prevent. So I would argue that the small brokerages need clear cooperation. Okay. If you're
small
a
independent. Yeah.
brokerage of 5 or 10 agents, you need stuff on the MLS.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what's doing the best service for your client. I think that, the big fear here isn't Compass, Greg. It's not about Compass getting out there and taking their market share and swinging a ball, right?
Right.
What it's about is Compass joining with Redfin and Coldwell Banker and getting rid of the MLS.
Well, the MLS, in my personal humble opinion, as an agent for 25 years, I think it's archaic, and I do believe there are better ways to do this, and it can be privatized because we all pay dues to
Well, it is
NER. Well, but we all pay dues into it, and yes, they do legal stuff and they protect us in in the governmental forums. I understand that, but why can't we just do our own business the way we want to do our business?
I don't think that's changing all that much. I think that there's a lot of fear mongering over clear cooperation and sharing the listings. I want to believe that you doing your business is generally consistent with the rules and regulations of clear cooperation. I think that the chance of you having somebody come up that says, you know what, I don't want to advertise my home in any way whatsoever is much more rare.
It is rare, but it does happen. But I should have the autonomy to do what I choose to do with my client's wishes. It's like if you go to the doctor and you're going for a surgery and you sign the consent form saying, "I want no resuscitation." And
Okay,
they're
so
like, "No,
let's
no, we want
let's
to bring
role
you
play
back."
this. Let's role
Oh,
play.
I'm down. Let's go, homie.
You're the client who
Okay.
does not want their property on the market.
Doesn't want the property on the market. Okay,
Okay.
go.
Hey, Greg, great news. We're ready to list your property. I'd like to put a sign out in the front and get this listed on the MLS. Are you ready for this?
Oh man, you know what? I have a neighbor of mine down the street, Michael. I love you and your team. I'm not comfortable with having a sign out in front because Stacy down the street, she's a gabbermouth, and she's just going to tell everybody about everything. And my personal life is my personal life. I just want someone to come in and buy it.
Okay. Well, Greg, there's a couple of things we can do. Um, I just want to make sure. So you're okay with the property not showing up on the MLS
Yeah,
and
I prefer that. Yeah.
not being advertised to anybody with a sign. We won't be able to hand out flyers. The only thing I can do for you in marketing here is, I can talk to my peer group inside my own brokerage, and I can advertise it to them. I can market it. We can put this out over our private network, here at the brokerage, but we're somewhat constrained. You're not going to have any people visiting the home. Um, there's a lot of things we won't be doing to help you market this home. Are
What do you
you
mean you
okay
won't be
with that?
helping me?
Well, we're not going to be able to put a flyer together to hand out to the general public. So if you don't list your property, I can't advertise this to every, Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes down the street.
Okay,
Are
so what if
you?
you put it on the MLS, but I don't want to sign?
I'm okay with that. Okay, but you do have to understand it's going to show up on the MLS. It will be front and center. It'll show up on Zillow. It'll show up on Redfin. We'll go through the normal process, right? We'll stage your home. We'll come in. We'll take some photos. We'll put it up there with a description. The only thing you won't see is the sign in your yard.
And now, are you guys gonna put good do door knocking with flyers around my neighborhood to let everybody know, or do cold calls or emails, or
No,
what are you gonna do?
normally we would do all of the above. So our general process is to send out postcards on your behalf. Say, hey, here's a new listing to the market. Show people what's coming on the market. We typically have done that every door direct. So EDDM mailing, which would potentially hit the neighbor that you are trying to avoid. We can do these first class postcards and avoid that person directly, so they wouldn't get a flyer. And then the surrounding neighborhoods where we could still do EDDM without impacting that, we would get to those people. We do this because those are some of your best promoters, right? Those are the people that are going to talk to their friends about getting them to move into the neighborhood.
Okay, so it's break script. So
Now,
basically, what you're explaining to me is one, there's a pain point and a solution.
yep,
So the pain point is not getting the maximum exposure, being limited, potentially getting a lower offer. If you get an offer, I don't know the size of your brokerage. You could have 10 people or 200,000 people.
yep,
So what's the visibility on that side? You can't do video, you can't do social media, you can't do postcards, you can't do, anything outside of your sphere of influence. Now, if you had a large sphere of influence, let's say 10,000 people, just round number, right?
yep.
And you send an email out to, custom email made through Canva or something like that after you take some photos, because Michael's a photographer, so you can go in there and shoot it. That's an
Woo.
asset. Yeah. Hello. But go in there, shoot them, get them on an email, get them out to 10,000 of your fellow agents and see if you can generate some business. But that goes directly in contradiction to what they're trying to stop, because that's exactly what Compass wants to do.
Yes, that's what a lot of brokerages would like to do. Coldwell Banker would like to do it. They just can't get enough market share in enough markets to make it happen.
Yeah, it's like EXP. I mean, we have, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of agents.
Mhm.
So I could post my new listing up in there and keep it in house. The brokerage loves it because they
Yep.
get double the commission, right? Returns. But the seller, again, this comes down to the seller. You have a fiduciary relationship to that seller. Keep that in mind, boys and girls. It's not about the world. It's about your seller, getting them exactly what they want. Like I have a seller right now I'm going to work with in this coming summer. His house is probably going to be worth 900,000 after maybe 50 to $100,000 fix up. I'm like, how much do you want for the home? He's like, you give me 550 to 600 and I am out the door. I'll accept the offer. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, that's my number. That's all I want. I don't care. That gets me to where I want to go. I'm not going to be greedy. So it's that's why I argue against this so much, because he's a little bit disabled, and he just wants to move over to see his family
Mhm.
and get to the East Coast. He doesn't want the top dollar, which is very strange,
I
by the
get
way.
it, Greg, but I'm gonna go back to what you've said to me many times as a real estate agent. You cannot be a secret agent. And I think with a home, you cannot have a secret listing and get even exposure. Let's take the price out of the equation, right?
Okay,
Look at the millions of people in the Bay Area. If you have a extensive network of 10,000 that you're marketing and calling to, that's big. But that's a fraction
true.
of the people that are doing it. And I hate to be jaded in the Bay Area. You say 900,000. I'm like, okay, so it's a dumpy condo.
It's a house that, let's say, needs a lot of
Yeah,
work.
a lot of love. I get it. So, you know, that's going to be a harder sell. So
But
the other part that I would ask you is, Greg, if that's the case, do you really think you're going to benefit your client by agreeing to this, knowing that it's going to take you X amount of time longer?
Well, it really depends on what you define longer in regards to the fact that he's like, dude, just find me a buyer. I'm like, I have 3 different investors I can call right now. I called the investors, they're all interested, but he can't do anything until his lawsuit's over in June. So we have to sit on our hands. But he's already excited at the fact that I already have found buyers for him.
So this is the rare exception and the reason that there are exemptions to clear cooperation, right? If you're selling it to an investor and it's not hitting the MLS or you're not marketing it, that's okay. There are a lot of people that go out and just buy houses. They I get a flyer in the mail every single day. We'll buy you a house. No contingencies, no inspections, no nothing.
Yeah, I've heard those ads.
Those are okay. They're not changing that. What they're saying, Greg, is you and IDX can't put your listing out there and market it to your 200,000 agents without marketing it to everybody, without giving every other agent a chance to help you sell that home.
I think that's a fair argument, but it goes back to your fiduciary relationship to your seller. You have
Sure.
to follow their wishes and their needs, because guess what, homie? You work for them, not
I
the other
get
way
it.
around.
I'm not telling you that you're going to dictate it. What I'm telling you is that you're going to share the message. If you want to do this, Mr. Seller,
That's fine.
this is what it really means.
So what you're really saying is the impact for the sellers is going to be less exposure, fewer buyers, and could be a lower price, right?
It could be a lower price. What I think is more relevant, it is probably going to be a longer days on market.
Well, it depends if you can find a buyer off market. I mean, there's an argument for both sides,
There
because
is an
if it's not
argument
on the
for both
market, then
sides.
it's not on the market.
But again, there's always going to be a what if,
Yeah,
right?
of
What
course.
if you have
It's
a
life.
buyer? Okay, but
Yeah.
what what if you could have put it on the market and had 10 buyers?
Well, then that would be advantageous for the seller in
Yeah.
regards to the highest price point in return for them,
Yeah.
sales point, excuse me.
Now,
Um,
we're not even talking about the sticky wicket here with the recent changes in commission, but you know,
that's a different story for a different day.
that is a different story for a different day. But a lot of the reason that companies like Compass want to do this is they want to capture both sides of the commission.
Yeah, they're smart. They're in business to make money.
Yep.
I completely get it.
Yep. So,
Hey, I know we're looking at my clock right now. We're coming up on our
yep.
bingo. I know you got another video call coming up. So let's do some closing points. I know you're going to say something. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say the only other thing I want to make sure we hit here is Zillow and Redfin aren't the enemy in this case, Greg. They're not saying that there's going to be a change. What they're saying is if your client wants to advertise on Zillow or Redfin, he needs to put his property on the MLS. That's all they're saying. And I don't have a problem with that.
I don't like the dictatorial attitude of like you have to do this, or we're not gonna, make ad money off of you, because they want to control it. Like you and I were talking off air about this. When I do, cold calls to for sale by owners, for rent by owners, they change the phone number to a Zillow phone number, so I can't text or call this client back to reconfirm a meeting
I
or
understand.
send information and everything else. I think they're
Let me
trying to
tell you something.
control the inventory.
That doesn't have anything to do with clear cooperation. They're not trying to control the inventory. They're trying to
Yes, they
control.
are.
They're trying to control their marketing dollars. Okay. Right now, they are
Disagree.
not functional as a brokerage. They're not a competitor with you. They're not out there trying to get this business. They're trying to control and manage. And what I would tell you is their management is preventing a lot of very unscrupulous agents from taking advantage of the system. What I do think that
True.
their changes prevent are companies like Compass, and I'm not a Compass hater. I think Compass has raised the tide, and that raises all the ships equally, right? But what's to prevent Compass from saying, you know what, Zillow, we don't want to put our 20% market share on the MLS. We want to put it on Zillow only, and we're willing to pay you X. So now we're going to pay you $100 a listing to help us promote these properties. What does that do for the little guy?
Well, it takes away the advantage for them to thrive in the marketplace, because their buyers and sellers don't have the same visibility to the marketplace, so it really hurts them on their bottom line. I understand that. Um, I think in without being crass, it's kind of a dick move, but I know the board sat down, looked at their P&Ls, and they're like, "Where can we make more cash? Oh, what if we did Kushmush?" And they're like, is it legal? Check with legal. Legal's thumbs up. We can do it. Great.
Yep.
NAR figures that out. They hear about it. They're like, no, you're not doing this.
Yeah.
And so then that comes down the pipe. And then one of our next videos, I want to talk about the commissions, but I know we need to jump right now.
Yep.
We're T minus 3 minutes before you got to jump. Um, and I think the commissions is a whole bag of worms that,
That's such a long conversation. Let's plan an hour for that one because we could go on and on. And
oh yeah.
it might be nice to maybe we'll invite one or two other agents that
Yeah.
to give some additional viewpoints. Let's see
You know
what's
what?
going on.
I think it's a phenomenal idea. You get one, I'll get one. We'll get 4 people, get a panel on here,
Yep.
and we'll have a discussion, different industries. Well, maybe we'll get one from whatever brokerages
100%.
and just go for it.
Perfect. And then, I just want to put that out there to our audience is if you're interested in participating with RE Geeks and having some of these conversations, by all means, shoot Greg at RE Geeks or Michael at RE Geeks an email, and we will get back to you and get you on air. We want to help you get your message out there, promote who you are, and we want to have a conversation to find out, what you think the direction of the industry, the direction of technology, wherever you want to sit goes. So feel free to reach out. We'll do that. And that's all I got, Greg. Let's call it a day.
All right, boys and girls, remember, like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out a ton. And then share this with somebody who might need to hear this or want to hear this, or if you just want to laugh at us at being goofy. Leave a comment, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace out, ninjas.
Peace out.
We
Laugh again.
gone.